today we are working on a 2007 Ford Escape Hybrid. So we got an issue with the power steering control module. Our code is C2729, power steering motor circuit short to battery on the positive. Now, I had this car in before, I was kind of diagnosing it, but now I have a little bit more better details on what to look for. So what's the first thing you need to do is you need to make sure that it's a hard code. So you need to have a proper scan tool for this. So your little cheap $20, $60, even I think maybe the $60 could work out. But if it's a cheaper one, this might not be able to help you out. So you need to clear the code first and make sure. If it goes away, then we got something else going on. I'm just only doing this procedure for the hard reset, and we'll go from right there. Alright, so we already did number 1. We cleared the code and it's still there. So we're going to go move on to number 2. So if code's present at all times, we need to access the power steering control module, which is near the driver's side of the firewall. At the connector, obviously, that's the one at the power steering control module. Check for any voltage on the black wire. Pin number 2 with the connector disconnected from the module. And also check for any voltage on pin number 4, which is white. Also with the connector disconnected from the module. If any voltage is present on either wire, repair the short to voltage between the power steering control module and the power steering motor. See the attached wire diagram for reference. Now here's the wiring diagram. Try to get this as best as possible. So here's the torque sensor. That's inside the module. If it's the 2007, it's all integrated with the rack and pinion, so there's no way to replace that. So unfortunately, if that's the issue, then kind of screwed at that point. So right here is going to be our power steering control module, which is this unit right here. So we're going to check up our wires. We got pin 2 and 4. Those are the ones that we're going to check. So we got our white and then our black. So we're going to go ahead and pull out those. So right here is where we're going to go ahead and access this is the power steering control module right there. So we're going to go ahead and access that from the rear. See that little gray connector in the back? We'll go ahead and pull that off and then test for the voltage. Now you're going to need a multimeter for this. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and disconnect that connector. I'm going to try to hold it while disconnecting it. Alright, so we got our test lead. So we're going to have one test lead that's going to go to the negative because we're going to try to find power on the ground side of the connectors that we're going to be testing. Now, if you don't have these alligator clips, you can't buy these at Harbor Freight. They're pretty close with the scanner, with the digital multimeter, but you don't need them. You can actually just stick the multimeter and just hold it in between there. I'm just doing this because it makes my life a lot more easier, so I could have my hands for something else. Here's the multimeter that I'm using. We're going to go ahead and set it to voltage, switch it down to, there's 2, and then we're going to have it on 20 because obviously we want 12 volts. Then obviously before, if anything, you need to see what voltage you're getting. So we're at 12.4 voltage, which is like 75%. So now we're going to go ahead and make sure that we're not getting any voltage in those wires. Alright, so looking at the connector this will be starting from 1, just like that. So that's pretty much the way how we're going to be looking at that connector. Alright, so I noticed as I was looking at the wire, the wiring diagram is actually backwards. So yeah, so it's pretty much backwards. So I'm going to be going by 1 and 3. Those are going to be the ground wires that are going to be going to the motor itself. Okay, so we have no voltage. So now we're going to proceed to the next step. Kind of wish there was voltage, but oh well. It's fine. A little bit more work for some of you guys that can proceed to the step that doesn't have the voltage on the wire. But again, if you have voltage on the wire, I would check those. And then right here, just to kind of speed up the process, just to tell you where it's at, you can disconnect this guy. You're gonna unclip this from the fuse box. So just get some pliers and just pry it right back, and then pull this red safety pin and just push down. And then you're basically gonna check for same thing for voltage on this side. This would be between the PCM, the power steering control module connector, and this side. If you don't see no voltage right there, then check right here with this side. This will be going to the power steering pump. Now, if this is going to the power steering pump, then obviously your thing is pretty much shorted. So make sure that there's no power from here in the motor side. So just kind of a little quick update on that. Sorry, I'm just kind of trying to be as more detailed as possible for some people. Everybody has a different symptom. Alright, so now we're going to go to step 3. We're going to go ahead and check the black and white wire, and we're going to measure the resistance between those wires. With those wires, they need to be connected to the motor, so make sure that you don't disconnect them. So we're going to test them throughout here. So we need to make sure that there's no more than 2 ohms. And if there is, if it shows like an abnormally high or open circuit, then you need to check the wires either from the module itself. That would be either a bad indication of the motor itself or the wiring itself. So you would need to check those out. One way you can kind of check those out before you kind of think of if you do get that symptom, if the resistance is pretty high, you can disconnect the connector from the motor. So it's going to be right there. I believe it's going to be like 2. Let's see. So it's going to be where you're at. So it's going to be that black and white wire right down there. So it's going to be this guy right here. My finger's touching, so it's going to be that. And then you're going to have 1/3 wire. That's another ground wire. That's bolted on, so you're going to need a flex ratchet. It'll make it easier if you have a flex ratchet, or you can use a Phillips screwdriver. Those two will work. They're not torqued on there very tight. I think it's a 7mm. So yeah, there's one bolt right there you can see. It's a very tight spot. So remember, there's 2 bolts. And you can still take that off with the battery connected. So okay, so now we're gonna go ahead and set our thing to 200 ohms because we can't be more than 2 ohms. So we're gonna try to see if the motor. So we're gonna go and check the white lead and then the black lead. So that's gonna be 1 and 3. So we're like right there at the 2 ohms. So that is good. It's just fluctuating around too much because I have the connector all the way down right there. But just for some of you people, just for a better conscience, it's just kind of hard to. So we're going to test the 1 and then the 3. So the motor is good, the wiring is great. So now we're pretty much going to go to our 4th step, which would be the power steering control module unit itself. So if the motor circuits test okay, this is I'm reading this from the fourth step. Check the powers and grounds through the power steering control module. So we got to check light green, violet. That's going to be pin number 4. And then we need to check pin number 2, which would be the ground wire. So we're going to check the second one. So we need to make sure we have good grounds. Wire should be, for the green wire, it should be hot at all times. So there's always power to that one. And then pin 2. So this pin right here. So pin number 2 is going to be our ground. And then pin number 4 is going to be hot at all times. That's the green violet one, and then this one's black. So we're gonna go ahead and check those out right now. So we're gonna go ahead and switch our multimeter to voltage. Now we're gonna check for power. All right, perfect. So now when we're checking for ground, so when we're checking for power, our multimeter needs to be on the ground. So now we're going to be checking for ground at that wire. So we need to switch this one over to power. And now we're going to go ahead and check to see if there's good ground. So we got good ground right there. So now that's perfect. Now also you can switch back your thing over to ground and make sure you don't have a short to ground right there. So that's one way of testing it, but no, we got actually pretty great ground wire right there. So we're gonna so if all powers and grounds are present and then the wires of the power steering motor are not shorted to the voltage as the codes would indicate, suspect a faulty power steering control module. So now I'm pretty much sure that the power steering control module is the one that's bad. I'm going to go ahead and show you which fuses, just in case. So pretty much those are going to be the bolts right there for the power steering control module. So we're going to check 15, 25, and 32. So we're going to check those, the 20 amp, 50 amp, I believe it's another 50 amp, I want to say, yeah. On the camera looks better, but if you look at it in person. Alright, so now that we determined what the problem is, again, we're just kind of going by the steps of what was given. So everything checked out, fine, the wirings, the motor, on this rack and pinion. So now we're going to suspect that it's a faulty power steering control module. Now I'm going to go ahead and show how to do that in another video. I will put that in the link down below or a bumper ad. So just click that video if you want to see how to do it. Now, if it's not up there, it's probably because either my customer didn't want me to do it, so I'm just waiting for the approval and to find the part for that. So the part is kind of pricey, but if you can find it at a local junkyard, but I know online they're around like $200. You can get, I think there was like a refurbished one, a rebuilt. I saw online for about less than $300 for that whole unit that's right back there. Now, if this video helped you out, give it a thumbs up, comment below, let me know if you have any questions, and then hit that subscribe button for more upcoming videos in the future. And thanks for watching.